That's great. Well, it's being 7:30, and we clearly have a quorum, maybe a quorum and a half here. I'll call this meeting to order. This is a meeting of the Rules Committee of the Representative Town Meeting. And first item on the agenda is approving the minutes of September 8th. Can I have a motion in favor? Yes. Great, Mark. Thank you, Joe. Second, corrections, any changes? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed, I see none. Abstentions, none. Minutes stand approved. Next item, District 3, assigning Dustin Gordon to a standing committee.
You want me to do that, huh? He makes a spreadsheet and it tells me to do it. I love it. Don't you love it? Yes, we think Dustin Gordon will be fine at PZ&H is, I believe, what we said. Yes, like, is that right? Okay, PZ&H, we have, I'm sure that when we get to the next election cycle, there'll be changes. So there'll be another opportunity for him. But right now we got a hole there, so we like.
Is that, can I just ask what his choices were?
He didn't really say, but I do believe he'd like education.
Okay,
He talked a lot about education. That way.
Wait, so can I ask a question first before we go any further? So we got an agenda, but then we got an updated agenda.
right,
So shouldn't, you know Robert's rules better than I do,
yeah,
but instead of a new agenda, shouldn't we just have amended the old agenda?
what I did.
No, shouldn't we have done it tonight? We shouldn't
Well, I
instead.
didn't want, I wanted you to all have one sheet of paper which had the final deal, you know, what's going on correctly, so that you could all read it all, be typed. So if you don't have it written in front of you, it's a lot harder to deal with. So that's why I just sent out the revised one, which is simply upgraded the cost on the purchase of West Avenue to 37 West to 5200, because it was at 51 on the old one. And it turned out that rather than one resolution to buy 37 West Avenue, you had to have two. So I added that in.
No, we don't.
It's not the point.
We're gonna
I guess,
talk about
I don't know.
Wait,
You're in
let me
the
pick up on
process,
Susan's comment. I ask respectfully that this body vote to amend the agenda to include the items you included today. The agenda that I received that was posted in a timely manner on the website and filed and stamped does not include the items that you wish to talk about tonight. And since it's a regular meeting, you certainly have the ability to modify the agenda, but just for the public's viewing and keep everything copacetic. If someone wants to make a motion.
I'll make that
please.
motion.
Which is what I think Susan was asking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
We have a second.
All right, hang on. The motion was.
I know why you did, I understand the why, but you know me, I'm a process person. And that way we have it all laid out.
Which was moved by Susan.
Actually trying to do, so I would.
I know.
Hey, guys, the 51 that you see on it's not
Yeah.
51, it's 52, and you know.
Well, there's a couple of.
Well, why don't we articulate what they are? since we're thinking about it?
Already. We,
We'll get down there, right? But
Okay.
yeah,
it's just, I make a motion that we amend the original agenda to the updated agenda, I guess it's important to add that.
Okay.
For the purpose of a recorded meeting, it's probably preferable to enunciate what it is you're including on the agenda now, just for everybody's.
Well, the agenda.
Particularly for the people who didn't print out the revised.
That works too.
The appropriation bond resolution originally was 5,100, 5,100,000. It's now 5,200,000 because of some additional expenses associated with the bonding resolution. So we just updated that so the number was correct. I got from town council that we needed two resolutions on purchasing 37 West Avenue. One is to approve the purchase. The other was approve rates and changes to the other was was the bond resolution, which we had on the original agenda. And those are the changes.
So we can vote on that and move on.
Except one question, I'm not certain, was the date of the agenda we were placing items on for the upcoming RTM incorrect as well? Was that corrected October 29th?
Yeah,
that's 22nd. Was that?
Yeah,
Yes.
well, where October, it's the
It's October 29th is the upcoming RTM.
27th.
27th, yeah, which I had on the draft.
27.
What do I have
Go down there.
down at the bottom?
Oh, I'm sorry, yeah. The 29th there, the eight, it's the
The 29th.
27th.
Yeah, okay,
Change from the 29th to the 27th.
thank you.
Sorry for the typo.
No
guys.
worries.
Okay, any other? Yes, Peter.
One comment, this on how the resolution is worded. It says approval to purchase and approve rates. I would submit that the more appropriate language would be take action upon.
The motion is always to approve,
Okay.
and then it's either is approved or it ain't.
Okay, can we vote on the,
Yeah. Any other comments or thought? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, opposed? I see none, abstentions? Great. Okay.
can we talk about the next thing on the agenda?
Yeah, update from the technology committee.
Wait, we didn't vote we didn't vote to assign Dustin. We just talked
Yes,
about
we
it.
did.
We voted?
No, we didn't vote.
Okay, all right.
We had a
have-
motion and a
We
second.
got interrupted, okay.
Yeah, I got it. I was the interruption.
Yes, so can I have a motion to assign Dustin Gordon to PZNH?
Adele Connor.
Adele,
And
a second,
second.
Peter, Peter seconded.
Okay.
Good, all those in favor? Okay, opposed, abstentions, I see none, okay. Next, update from the technology committee.
Mike and I met this afternoon with Jen Charnowski for a very successful meeting. We're happy to say that Jen and the town committed to having us, providing us with an audio-visual person to work for our RTM meetings. So that there will be somebody officially assigned, and we will have a set piece of equipment. And anybody doing a presentation will need to send either electronically their presentation or provide a flash drive with their presentation. Krista has thankfully agreed that we also are going to ask that anybody doing a presentation let Krista know a week before the session. Doesn't mean you have to send in your presentation a week before, you just have to tell us, because the town is not gonna have somebody come in for AV support if it's not needed. We know that we will have it for the state of the town and for the budget meeting, but more than that, it'll depend on the who's speaking and what they need, okay? And Chris is gonna follow up after we set our agendas. If it looks like anybody needs, who needs to be contacted to see if they're gonna have any AV requirements. So that should help. It gives us a consistent process. It makes sure we're using one computer and we don't have changes to that. And that we have a process that works and we have people that'll be there to staff it. So we are pretty excited about having that there, and we're very
We're more
grateful.
excited that you can't blame Lois and me if it's screwed up. Screw up.
And we're thankful for Krista and mostly for Jen for helping us resolve this and offering to figure out a way to include it in the operation. And also the equipment we have here with the sound and the video is consistent with what's in 206. So, which leads me to the next statement that come the next session of the RTM, we will once again do training, but it's going to be so much easier than it has been. And it's going to be consistent whether we're in 206 or if you're running a meeting in 206 or this room. So that's the really good news. We're working on a document. The document that we're putting together will probably be consistent for not only RTM meetings, but for other town meetings. So we're working with Jen to have that happen. And the next piece that we talked about is the issue of, for hybrid or remote meetings, the issue of Zoom bombing. And the way we're gonna handle it is that we have to allow anyone in, we're gonna have a wait list for all meetings. Oh, no, not waiting room, that's the right language. We have a waiting room for all meetings, that anybody who comes to the meeting will be let in. We're gonna ask that who's ever run the meeting, ask people to put their names on, on their correct name on their sign on their Zoom screen as well, and ask them to turn off their video and their sound, their audio if they're guests, unless they need to speak or something like that. So we're gonna manage that. If in fact there is a Zoom bombing, and we will, and ask people to say this up front, that if there is Zoom bombing, we're gonna shut down the meeting. We're gonna ask everybody to come back into the meeting and then in the waiting list, and we will only let in people that we know who they are. That, to the best of our knowledge, that supports FOIA, supports our meetings, and gives a consistent process that we can all use. So that's what we're working with. Subject to change based on, what happens. Hopefully we won't. And so that's what we're heading, and there'll be some more information that we will provide to all the committee heads and their vice chairs and whoever else they want on what other things they need to do or think about. And that's,
Can I ask one question, since you already know my opinion on this?
I know.
When I'm letting people back in, the only people I know are members of my committee.
Fine.
Yeah, and Jen agreed that that was consistent with best practices, that FOI would acknowledge if you were Zoom bombed, there were special circumstances.
And you might, if there's a town official or somebody that you might let know.
I will judge.
The other thing we're gonna suggest is that every committee have, every committee use a host and a co-host. So Jack likes to do it all himself, that's fine. But for others, sometimes it can be difficult to run your meeting, follow what people are saying and worrying about who's coming in or not coming in and letting them in. So the hope is that there'll be a host, a co-host, and we'll train any number of people that you want. The other thing that that's gonna happen is, in order to save money for channel, that's not channel.
No, we're back on channel 79.
Okay, it's for channel 79, Marianne TV. We found it very effective enough that if you record in a Zoom meeting, that it can be used without having to pay money to have somebody sit in a room, as we're doing tonight. And so that's gonna be mostly standard, the way we're doing it. So part of the training will make sure have people know how to record and not. It's pretty simple. It's just remembering to start hitting it. No, I'm not looking at anybody. Anyway, to start hitting it, to start it, it automatically will stop when you close down the meeting, but also to close it down. And that's why having two people, doing the meeting is really helpful.
Well, that's not fair comment, because I had two hosts in my last meeting.
And you better forget.
Lost in me.
Well, if you're lucky, you get both of us.
You're welcome to join any meeting I'm at.
It's not meant for the co-host to be Mike and me, but we will help out where we need it, and definitely we'll do training and make sure anybody who wants to do it, is involved. And Mike's really good at touching base with all the different chairs of all the different committees. So
Can I ask a question? Because I've joined big Zoom meetings where they're doing presentations. And they let me in and there was no way my screen goes on, my mic goes on or whatever.
the answer to that is they're using Zoom webinar. And the town considered using Zoom webinar and decided that it was a lot of money for a problem that doesn't seem to be that big. So that's why we're doing that.
So
We spent a lot
we
of
have
time.
made a choice to stick with the cheapest to deliver technology rather than.
Less expensive.
Less expensive.
Same statement.
Anyway,
Because we
respect
used to
that
go to
in the town.
meeting, we're using Zoom.
Okay,
that's what we did. We seriously looked at it and the town looked at it, and that was the conclusion they came to. So where we are now is, this is what we're doing. And going forward, it doesn't mean it won't change, but this is
there
where
is
we
a
are.
technology solution if this becomes a serious problem. And That's right.
Everything can change if it becomes a serious problem. The answer is it hasn't been, it's been an occasional problem, pretty ugly when it happens, but it's been an occasional problem. So, and there's some other things we're doing to support that. Okay, but thanks for the question.
What we're finding out is that technology has its benefits, but along with it usually comes other things that you have to deal with. And Lois has been dealing with these for how long, you two guys? to try and get to the point where we are now has been quite something.
Well, it's continual. It does, it's, new things come up, new ideas come up, getting new equipment comes up. It's pretty cool to be where we are now compared to where we were. So we're very grateful for that supporting.
It's great, great.
Independent of the FOIA bomb, just to clarify the the Zoom bomb, the FOIA policy is that anyone can attend a meeting without any identification. At which point, if there's public comment, that is when you can require somebody to state their name or address. Other than the public comment, per FOIA, you cannot stop someone from attending a meeting.
Maybe to call.
I'm just throwing it out there just for clarification.
And the other thing that had come up last year and it's come up again, that if you're a committee member and you call in on a phone, you can vote. I know we had this as a discussion, so that's clarification.
But it's up to each committee
That's
to
right.
make that decision themselves.
No, it's up to the rules. We can do it for all the RTM committees. Didn't that come up too?
That I understood to say each RTM committee had to make their own decision if they were going to allow telephone voting.
Oh, I was.
So we can clarify that.
Yeah, and so you may get a thing like at your first meeting, just,
Welcome to our
go for
world,
it.
folks.
I would think you'd want to have that consistent, but
Have it
I'll
well.
double check. She may be right. I heard.
My understanding was we can do it in rules for everybody at the start of the year, but we'll find out.
Being the committee that does the most Zooms, we allow people who are on the phone to vote. Number one, we recognize their voice, and number two, we know their phone.
No,
So
sorry, wasn't talking about Zoom. This is not Zoom. When we're having it, when we're not doing.
Having an in-person meeting.
We're having an in-person meeting and we're not, and they're not a bit on Zoom or something like that. They can have a phone in, like we're in the auditorium and we don't use Zoom in the auditorium. And we had run into this last year with our votes were quote taken off or something like that. But Zoom obviously, and you're supposed to, and you can do what you want, Jack, but if you need to vote, if, or maybe even when you first start, you say, this is my name and this is who I am. And we'll come up with something about that and just make it
we
real.
already know when we're doing attendance from everybody on the phone.
So, no.
Yeah, but this is designed for in-person meetings. If somebody can't make it and we're not set up to do a Zoom meeting, somebody can call in and it's up. And we'll double check, but I had in my notes that it was a member vote of that committee, but she could be right. But we'll clarify that by next month.
Para, first of all, let me introduce you.
I'm diving right in.
You just slid right in, so expertly that I should have opened the meeting by introducing him, but welcome.
Thank you.
Enjoy the ride. As you can see, it's not a dull moment. You had a question.
It's not my first rodeo with this. It's okay. I've been in board sessions where it's hard to get a quorum because we don't have enough physical bodies. You're talking about voting. Does that count towards a quorum for the meeting?
I have to double check, but my guess would be,
So we have an RTM meeting. We're short a quorum. We have 58 people.
it's not an RTM meeting. This is.
No, it could be.
No, it's not. This is only for committee meetings. We're not doing, the RTM is in person only.
You're talking about committee meetings.
I respect that. I'm not suggesting it's that. I'm just using it as my broad question. Can people phone in and constitute a quorum for a meeting?
well, they
For an
know they
individual
have to.
committee meeting or for an for a
Committee.
full RTM
At
meeting?
the moment, the committee meeting, yes.
Jen said yes.
You have to, otherwise how can you vote if you're not there?
Yeah.
Just so you
Another
know,
important
the numerator and the denominator might not.
This was not clear to me as you explained it. As far as I can tell, we opened this meeting, Seth said immediately, visually, we have a quorum. If he didn't have a quorum, I've been in situations where they get on the phone and call the missing members
Right.
to get to a quorum. Just trying to understand, is that actually how this works as opposed to the voting thing?
I'm gonna be honest, now, it doesn't affect the committee that I'm on. But I think that's a very dangerous situation where people believe that all they need, you're having an in-person and people are then just doing a call-in. And from that, so what I'm saying is, if that's the case, then
We can revisit it if that becomes the case.
we're back to Zooms on all those meetings.
So the intent is that we're having a meeting like this and one of us is somewhere else and doesn't have access to sign into the Zoom meeting. And why, I mean, or we're in the auditorium. This is what happened last fall. We were in the auditorium. Two of us were not available, but we were available by phone and we voted. And then somebody said, oh, those votes don't count. But now we've clarified that those votes count. If it turns out that we're ending up and we don't want it to have, a few people in a room and everybody calling in by phone, we can change the rules. I mean, that's what the Rules Committee does. It sets the standard for where we are right now is to assist one or two people. And if we're in the auditorium,
I'm just stating a potential concern.
but if we're here, we could do it through Zoom and do a hybrid meeting. Can't do that.
That's much better,
So
right?
that's a different ballgame.
Well, I am a bomb victim. The Operations Planning Committee was bombed.
That's an hour.
I tell you,
On women.
He hasn't recovered.
it was, yeah. You're sitting there and you don't know what to do. The thing I did was turn my computer off and reboot it. That was, well, anyway. Thank you. Lois, anything? Is that, okay, great. I was gonna get an update from the RTM Recognition Committee. Mike, okay,
Nothing, I mean, that's Patty's thing, and
yeah.
she's not called me for anything, so nothing has happened to
Nothing
my
so
knowledge.
far. Yeah, okay.
Sort of.
There was a question, I just want to put this on the agenda to talk about a public hearing on the 37 West Avenue purchase. The RTM is not required to have, a public hearing. It's up to us whether we want one or not. And it would be up to the committee running it, except that if you were going to have a public hearing, you couldn't put this item on the agenda in time to have a public hearing and have it considered. So that's why I put it on. I don't know why, given that the Board of Selectmen is required to have a public hearing, why, you would need two. So, but I just wanted to put that on the,
So I thought the Board of Selectmen were having a public hearing on the parking.
Right,
They're
I
having,
agree with
it's not on the purchase,
purchase,
it's on the
no.
parking,
uh-huh.
which is a whole
Well,
different.
that's
Isn't planning and zoning having a public hearing tonight?
No,
It's
there's
not?
nothing,
Yeah.
it's a mandatory referral, which is a general meeting, it's not a public hearing.
There,
Can I ask a general question, which I tried to find the answer to, but is there either in the contract or somewhere, is there a date that the town must approve this
Yes.
purchase? What is that date?
yeah, I've asked for a term sheet and I don't have the contract yet. I'm gonna
I
talk
have
about
it.
that later. Oh, you do?
Just give me a few minutes.
The
But
reason
I
I'm
believe
asking
it's
is,
like November 14th or something along those lines.
the reason I'm asking is, it kind of pertains to a lot of things on the agenda tonight. I feel like the RTM is being boxed in to, there's been a lot of big decisions made, whether it's capital projects, all of these changes. And I feel like our time frame has gotten shorter and shorter between a Board of Selectmen meeting, a Board of Finance meeting that may or may not be changed, committee meetings that now need to be adjusted. We have zero time to go out to the public. We are the RTM. We should be, I don't think many do, but we should be reaching out to our constituents. There is zero time. We don't have a local paper anymore, which is certainly not our problem, but I feel like we've lost our way a little bit in that the time frame for so much is being squeezed. I'm not saying they're good or bad projects. I don't know what we do other than encourage the Board of Selectmen and or the Board of Finance to give us a little bit more time on some of this. That was why I asked a specific question of dates. It's kind of a general statement. I don't know if anyone else feels the same way or not. It used to always be that, you don't rush the RTM. Let the committees do their job. I mean, Jack's committee had almost a 2-hour meeting last month on the three big projects.
40 minutes.
And then it turns out, because of timing, two of the projects didn't even go forward. I don't know how we encourage us to get back to a process of, here's the flow of information, unless it's an urgent mess, it's something urgent, but nothing in my mind has been urgent, so.
Can I respond to that?
It's up to Seth, I'm just saying that
Can I
that's.
respond to that?
Yeah.
So one of the things that we're going to talk about in new business is something that we've talked about here in the past, which is assigning projects very early on in the process. So that when I go through this and, on the septic system, Public Works had a meeting on that in September. I don't mean to speak for Amy, but Amy's been following what was going on in P and Z. TGS&A didn't, and that's something that we could have done with, but the reality is Wayne and the sewer authority on the septic had already written the ordinance, they weren't writing anything. Same thing with the P and Z, it has gone through the channels. As for the meeting that we held and F&B, I know from people who participated in the Board of Finance meeting that people listened to our meeting and some of the same things were reiterated in the Board of Finance meeting and the failing. The other thing is, I am not beholden to the Board of Finance, nor should any other committee. I don't mind that we discussed this and had our opinions heard, and then one was tabled and one was denied. The one that was denied, we had a very close vote in our committee. I mean, really, if I voted no, that would have been killed in our committee. So the other thing to mention is, and I'm going to reiterate this probably to the last day on the RTM, both the Board of Finance and the RTM are the budget-making authorities in this town. And so we have an opportunity to state our opinion before the Board of Finance votes or after the Board of Finance votes, and then have the RTM hear it if they want to reject something in there. So I don't feel that anything here.
37 West.
37 West is an interesting situation.
I was just talking about the whole picture.
No, I'm talking about the whole picture. On 37 West, this is the first time that I've been involved in an acquisition where myself or a member of PZ&H were not notified of the acquisition during the process. We were advised about Great Island signing essentially an NDA long before the process even came to the RTM on the purchase of Highland Farms. You were involved with that, Jamie involved, myself, and Joanne Hennessy in that. We actually made changes to the purchase contract as well. So this was an unusual situation that we weren't notified. But based upon the information that we were able to get, some of which I wish was better packaged, it should not be a problem for the committee to make a decision based upon what we have. The areas that I feel we could have had a better opportunity on, and Amy has the contract, but 2 weeks ago I asked for a term sheet, knowing that we would have the opportunity to look at the purchase agreement once the Board of Selectmen approved, with the understanding that it is confidential and not to be passed around, which is always difficult to control sending it out. And asked for a summary of the comps that they used since it was mentioned. But other than that, virtually all the information that I have requested, I had as of last week, prior to giving my committee two weeks to look at it. It just so happens that my original committee date is the same date as the Board of Selectmen, so we will be moving it, our committee meeting, because we want both John and Jen to attend. And so we'll probably be moving it to after the Board of Finance. But the fact of the matter is, the only thing that the Board of Finance can do other than vote this down would be to decide that they're not going to bond and they're going to use general funds to make this purchase. And that, when we get to the acquisition, is what I will talk about, that we're only really looking at one of the resolutions. And the second resolution that we have from town council will only be used if the Board of Finance decides to use general funds. Because the only resolution that's important to this committee, because it created a problem in other RTM meeting, where fortunately F&B used the right resolution. Bond council resolution is a resolution that goes to the RTM. The other one is a standby only if they choose not to bond it.
All right,
No.
Lois.
I agree with Susan. I think that it feels like we've been scrambling. And I hear what you're saying, Jeff. And this may be a one-off, and if it's a one-off with the 37 West, great. But I just want to make sure it's a one-off and it's not a new process that people are using to just, well, we'll let them know, and everybody runs and jumps and runs in circles. Fortunately, that you have spent an enormous amount of time in the last few weeks doing that, and you were able to do that. I guess some other committees did it too. But I think there's a message that needs to be sent that this is not the way we want to operate.
But I'm going to respond to that, because the reality is the committees are responsible to follow their businesses that are going on in the future. I just spoke to Liza today about, and this we're going to deal with the new business, Seth and I talked about it. So there's a couple of things we know that are going on. We know there's a discussion on buying a terminal for buses on the Board of Ed. So we can make the assignment now for F&B, PZ&H, because I guarantee there's going to be something going on there. And education to start following.
You're not picking on Amy, right?
No, I'm not, but we've left her out of two projects where there were P and Z rulings on that, like Patry
Right.
Point, where that committee should have been assigned. So this is things that are going, and it's the responsibility to do that. There's also a redevelopment of Middlesex Middle School that they're going to be putting in the budget, the evaluation of it. So the committees are supposed to be following this, and we should be setting up a procedure that has the Rules Committee making early assignments and keeping a list of what we've assigned so that the rules knows about it. The committee chairs are responsible for understanding what's going on in your scope document, period. So I don't think, and you can ask Ralph or Amy, the two areas that they have are not surprises to them. The P&Z's been going on for 2 years.
So the good news of this discussion is, Jack, thank you. So I guess rules will have to do a little bit more assigning a little bit earlier. So this has been very productive.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that.
I have no problem. I put in updates where we've got stuff assigned. But I have no problem adding, a paragraph that says updates, and we'll list every one of them.
I mean, I assume at OPC, a lot of this may or may not come up. And Jack's
Yes,
been
I
the
agree.
pseudo person that's,
After the fact.
well, maybe you can.
It's
ask
already,
them.
I'm sitting there going, yeah, well, I know about that. Yep, I got that one. When we're ahead of the game on that. The key thing is Jack's team, he's got a couple of big, he's got the selectmen watching that, but he's also got the Board of Ed. But the Ed committee clearly could be, listening and watching there, because if you're going to talk about big money, and stuff that's going on. It's in that board. I'm sorry, Krista,
But just to answer that, Liza had a brief conversation of the bus depot at her last meeting. When we did District 3, one of our members had to go back to that. And she also knows about the Middlesex Middle School. So the committees are following. It becomes the responsibility of the chair to follow, and we're going to talk about it in one of these assignments, the scope document. There was a reason that's put out there.
an executive,
Can we get back to the question, was, do we have a date?
Yes.
yeah, we do
Yeah.
have a date.
So the due diligence deadline was October 17, and the approval deadline is November 7.
Yeah, okay, I was off by a week.
Okay, you're forgiven, Jack.
That's for the purchase?
Yeah.
For purchase. What happens if there's a referendum?
Then we have 7 days afterwards to have a referendum, and then we'll have to deal with it.
It takes longer than 7 days to have a referendum.
We'll deal with it if the referendum comes up.
That's for an extension on the contract.
All right, Krista?
Just an observation, picking up on Susan's point and echoed by Lois, as I look at your agenda here, if the responsibility of the Rules Committee, as I read in your action items, is to assign committees, in all of these items, it appears to me that all of these topics have been assigned away from this body. And I mean, that's speaking to what you're all saying, but here you are looking to do an action that has already been completed. So I would agree as a member of the public also and a resident of Darien, it would, for the public, for the committees, all the committee members to be aware of the assignment by this body, because this is your charge, to have been done well in advance. So I think you're not, my opinion,
Some of
you're undermining the role of this body
some
because you're
of-
not assigning. They're already been assigned. I'm sorry to that.
So there's okay, Christy, you're pointing out there's a difference between assigning and understanding that they're responsible for something. So maybe that's part of the clarification that we need.
Well, I think the understanding is the scope document. I think everyone should understand because of the scope document.
I think what I'm saying is Jack's saying people know that they have to be following this, but that may not have been stamped by the Rules Committee or approved by the Rules Committee.
What we're going to be talking about later is a process to make sure
Right.
that the Rules Committee is doing it. We're going to keep a tally as part of every meeting
Right,
of what's been assigned, what's out there.
Okay.
And again, it's the responsibility of the department chairs, or many of us serve on a slew of different committees here, that we should be able to bring forward, hey, I understand that there's an investment going on in the health department that may have to come to the RTM.
the way the agenda is set up now, we're setting the agenda for the RTM meeting that's coming up, the next one. So what we are short is a tracking sheet, Excel spreadsheet, whatever, that's also part of the minutes that talks about, okay, what are we tracking? And then bingo, what comes onto this agenda?
Good.
What we're doing tonight is we've got, be that as it may, yes, true or false, where we've got a group of items here which are ready to go to the RTM. They've gone through a development process, and we're now at the point where the RTM can vote. And now we formally assign the committees that are going to report out to the RTM about what their opinion is now that the deal is on the table. Prior to that, prior to the resolutions being generated and the board's voting and all of that, they're not ready.
Yeah,
And that doesn't mean we shouldn't be tracking them. It just means it's adding a process which we don't have here, but which we can certainly do.
I have mentioned in the past that we should be assigning committees the moment we know something's coming up.
Right.
So we're gonna end up with a one-off like 37 West Avenue, all right? But for the rest of it, we understand things are coming down the pipe. We know if there's a committee being formed on the Board of Selectmen to start to look at something, that committees should be assigned then. One of the best examples I have is that even though the RTM didn't vote, and Mark can better explain this, when he was the chair of Public Works, there was a long-term discussion of buying the lights from Eversource. And it ended up, they made the decision in August. But the fact of the matter is Mark had been following that for 6 to 9 months. So you were aware that that was coming. And so the only thing we need to do is to assign committees where we know something is coming up and keeping a listing of that. And should something come up, everybody knows, hey, you were assigned this. Okay, this is getting a little bit hotter right now. And remind people of what they're assigned. And when I spoke to Liza thought that was a great idea for education, even though I know she's following everything.
Right, and it means bringing them up in the Rules Committee to discuss, well, where is it? The only thing is that some standing committee chairs are not on the Rules Committee, just for communication fun. So we'd have to work that out so that they can talk about it, you know? All right, we got.
If I can add to that, you're exactly right. The fact that the chairs are not all necessarily represented here. If they're doing what they're supposed to be doing under the scope document, most stuff will get caught.
Yeah.
I am concerned to the point I think you were somewhat raising. Not everything comes through the obvious channels of the operations meeting or Board of Finance. They eventually do get there, but the early, I can't think of where one might come from that wouldn't be picked up by the
Board of
chairs.
President, Board of Ed or something.
Right.
You know, there's going to be those one-offs.
Yeah.
Where all of a sudden something comes in.
Yeah. But to get it into this room, to get it on the early
Yeah.
notice agenda.
We just
Or
need to have,
signs and stuff.
we may start requiring chairs to report things that they're watching. It's
Maybe
called
it's
a
a
watch list.
maybe it's a representative of a different committee. Maybe it doesn't have to be all the chairs.
Right, because we
Yeah.
actually represent virtually every committee here.
So I think where we have a way to reconcile issues, I think there's two separate obligations. One, which Jack is talking about, that we people need to have subject matter understanding of the various issues that are coming up, and people who are diligent are going to get on top of it. There's also the reporting obligation that is triggered by having an action put on the agenda that requires the committee chairman to stand up and deliver a report. Those two obligations, those two duties, I think are distinct and separate, and that's okay. And so if you just think of them from that point of view, you've got subject matter understanding and then consideration and reporting at the back end. And if you look at it that way, I don't think there's a conflict.
Well, once you have the items on the list, then we only meet, X number of times a year. So you're gonna want a report from everybody at every rules meeting, so you can see what's coming down the highway, and then also what we've already got to assign. So it would require, having these, unless the committees had nothing to report, that's possible. But if it's on the list, then we're tracking it, and they would have to be here to report out on it. It's not a bad thing, but it's it's a way to get our arms around it. You raise a very true point. The numbers have gotten bigger, and the complexity is bigger than what we used to have, that we wrote in 1953, right? So that's, for those of you who don't know, that's when the standing Appendix B was first put on the table. So what I will do is get a note out to every committee chair and ask them to identify what do they see coming forward under their area of responsibility, and we'll get it on a list.
And we can assign committees at that time.
Yeah.
To say, hey, just be aware. And like, as I said, two of the things, Middlesex, the study I'm expecting to be in the Board of Ed budget for this year. but the actions may not take place for another year or two. So, but at least we know that's coming, and I think that's important.
Yeah, and that wouldn't require, if it's a long-term project, you don't have to have somebody in here at every meeting, but the stuff that's starting to heat up, but is not ready to go to the RTM, that we'd have to have that, and we'd have to have a report. Yes, Lois?
I just wanna, something we've always struggled with is how much of our meetings are about content or structure. And I think we need to be careful in doing this when we start chatting about committee chairs need to tell us what's going on. But we need to make sure that they're tracking it and we know when something's coming up and the right people are assigned. We don't need to make any decisions about content. And I just reiterating what we've all learned.
I agree. I think all we need to do is know it's coming up, they're following it, done. So that nobody's caught off guard.
Right.
Okay, guys, let me get a note out and then I'll let you know when I get back.
So we've done 9 now.
Yeah. Well, no, there's another 9 because Joe's got a 9. But well, let's go through our regular agenda and then hit 9 again.
Good answer.
Okay. So we've hit 6. I don't know whether
I don't think we closed on
whether we have
a public hearing.
So the bottom line is we don't
We
have.
close
there's no time you
No
can.
time.
And there was no reason, I don't understand why we would, honestly.
So the public knows that we're buying it?
On the purchase,
Yeah. Not-
It's already announced.
Jack, where was it announced?
To us and.
I had somebody.
Board of Selectmen meeting.
Board of Selectmen meeting.
Yeah. I know. Unless you're watching the Board of Selectmen meeting.
Right.
It hasn't.
I didn't know about it until I got packet.
Yeah, believe it or not, I mean, we don't have time to do it. That was the whole start of the whole conversation. Well, have time to do what you'd like to do.
That's fair. That's a fair
Well,
point.
if it needs to be signed by November,
Yeah.
true.
They can
Yes.
change that.
Yes.
I mean, I agree, I mean, in a perfect world, I think we'd like to have more time to have more discussion on a very impactful action.
Yeah.
It's going to affect, I mean,
And right now with all the expenditures in town and all the things that are happening with Great Island and other things, there's just general concern by those that don't follow it as closely as maybe we do, that we're always buying something.
Well, also, the Board
Or
of
spending
Finance
money.
was very clear in their meeting that they determined we could not afford to do Weed Beach. We could not afford to do Great Island, and they haven't discussed this. So I'm anxious to hear their rationale on how we can afford this, but we couldn't afford 2 point whatever at Weed Beach.
It's a different transaction.
I'm just saying, if the bottom line is they're to determine what we can afford and what we can't.
Well, somebody's got to do that, and it's the Board of Finance pretty much.
No, it's also
Because
the RTM.
Well, yes, in the
And I'm
end.
sorry, it's the RTM as well. We will be having the same conversation that they will.
Yeah.
With less time.
Well.
No, they
I've
have the
already
same
seen-
opinion that we.
He's already sent information. I've already started looking at it.
Mhm.
Like, I can even answer some of your initial concerns, but like, that's not the purpose of the meeting.
No.
I'm just saying that.
But we're involved. The whole point of the public hearing is Joe Schmo, who lives your neighbor, unless you're talking to him, they have no clue that we're purchasing this. Maybe they don't care.
To be honest, and what Pierre was referring to is, when I read the
But
Board
Jack,
of Selectmen.
yeah, I'm just saying,
I sent it to the committee saying, this is coming.
That's not the public.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
the
but that's
public
what I
hasn't
saw.
watched your meeting with this material, that's the concern.
Mark said it might have been in
Yeah, was it in the
John and Jay-Z's weekly.
I think it might have been, but somebody else I was speaking to, may have been
Thank you, I
lying.
can't find
That
it. so-
she read it someplace on the town site that we were doing it, and I don't know what the timing of that was.
I can say I was the only one that made a statement in the public here, in the.
I was figuring, how did you know about it? I was.
Somebody whispered to me.
I was.
I know. Board of Selectmen meeting, I made a statement.
Obviously, because I hadn't announced it yet.
I know. No, but I knew it was
You know,
in the agenda.
Well,
I had seen it in the agenda, but only because somebody told me it was coming and I put it on the agenda.
If we were, if we felt that, and I'm just putting this out there, if we felt that the RTM was gonna get involved in a public hearing, then the standing committee that we assign this to, whether it's one or two, I guess I have it in writing from, town council that there's 2 resolutions required.
There are not.
And there are not, my friends. And I found this out tonight because of the chair of finance and budget. Somehow we have figured that out or heard from some source that was.
Well,
the
it's
case.
just the fact that anytime there's bonding, the only resolution that the board, that the RTM needs to address is the resolution written by bond counsel. And I don't know if Christie, you remember the one instance.
Oh, yes, I do.
Where
Yes, I do.
not all the committees or the RTM had bond counsel. But the good news is that F&B dealt only with bond counsel resolution. And that allowed bond counsel to move forward and not have it returned to the RTM.
And that's a change of practice on my part, that I will only accept the
Right.
bond council resolution and nothing from town council on those matters.
Right. And should the Board of Finance
Yes.
again decide to not bond, we will then move the other resolution to just do the acquisition and take it out of the general fund.
So is that when I ask a question?
Except that
When you were.
we're sitting here looking at our last meeting, folks, before the election. And the next time we would be able normally to deal with this would be in January. Unless we decided to do business on the,
So here's
annual
a
meeting or
question,
whatever.
were you thinking that not just finance and budget, but would be assigned, but because there's a mandatory referral, would PZ&H also be assigned to this?
There's 3 committees,
Yeah,
if I might
could be.
answer.
yeah.
F&B is the lead because it's bonding
It's
and
bonding,
there's
right.
financial. PZ&H is assigned because not only the mandatory referral, but there is a contract and I have requested PZ&H to explain the contract because better to hear what limited liability is from an attorney than from an accountant. And then Public Works is involved because the responsibility for working on this is going to be in Public Works, but also it's going to be managed by the parking authority.
So
No,
back to the
so
public hearing, it would
That
be,
puts it back to him.
when you say we, who are you talking about as the we? The we, the RTM, we, those 3 committees?
It would be, I would say the primary committee would have the public hearing, would organize it, and the other committees would be involved with it.
The only
They'd
reason.
be there, I mean, they would participate, but somebody's gotta run
Right, and we have no desire.
it.
What are you saying, Jack? Have you asked your
Yeah.
committee? What's the we?
Yeah,
We don't have the time to do it, number one.
Well, we do have the time if we change it, but I'm asking who the we is.
Right now,
Well-
it's me.
Okay, so say me, so I don't have, I.
Fine. There is no way I am doing that. How's that to be real specific?
Well, if your
to you,
committee
Susan?
wants you to do it, I mean, come on, Jack.
No, I'm being realistic here.
there is a time question here. And it means that if there is a public hearing, then this thing will go on until, we might have to deal with it in some of our normal organizational things that we do after the election. It's not that we haven't done it before, but usually if we do that, it's something urgent. And the only thing that's urgent here right now is there is a deadline in the contract.
Well, there's 2 other things that I'm gonna mention today. Number one, the public hearing that's being done, which you were right, is on the parking authority, which is the rules, the $10 per day. And there's like 2 other things that are on it. I think I printed out what the public hearing was, because I know I sent it to our committee. But the actual purchase, they do take public comment at the Board of Finance meeting. So, being that it's public, that anybody who wants to make a comment on it would have the opportunity to do it at the Board of Finance meeting. F&B does not take public comment, but I can't speak about whether or not the other two committees take public comment.
Okay,
What we're gonna do is we're gonna buy this property as we use it as a parking lot.
right.
Yeah.
Because I hear a lot of conversation in the community this will be used for affordable housing.
Oh, jeez, that's what you're trying to
Okay.
avoid.
So
I hear it.
I understand what you've
That's the
heard.
importance of this thing, to get it done before somebody does that.
So we shouldn't be,
That's right.
Why are we discussing the details? I don't know.
No, we're not discussing, you're right, we shouldn't be discussing, but the intent that was stated by the Board of Selectmen is to use it as a parking lot.
now.
Yeah,
Right,
Well, my concern is that regardless, if it's not used as a parking lot, you start digging down, that's all water in there. And what's it gonna do to the Genevieve's property? And in downtown. I mean, there's consequences here. You just can't do something.
there
Because you wanna do
are,
it.
yes, if somebody wanted to do development on that, be it the town or any other, it would have to go through the various land use committees.
the normal process.
And all the points that you raised, plus a couple of others with Metro North, would be raised at that time. But that's not what we're here to. We're here to purchase a property for it to be used for an express purpose. And any other thing that's being discussed is, no different than the 3,000 things that we can possibly do at Great Island.
But there's still,
Okay,
there's still
so-
concern in the community. What's gonna happen.
Understood.
Yeah. If we were to, have a public hearing, this thing, cannot go on the agenda for the RTM. It's not ready. So, my point is, if this is going to go through, there's just not a way to do a public hearing as well. So we have to make a decision about that. The reason is that the timing, you haven't got time to, normally you'd have the primary committee make the decision about whether or not we have a public hearing. Usually it was in something like this, usually PZNH would be involved or something like that. They'd be doing a public hearing. In this case, it's F&B is primary because it's money. We've heard F&B's objection.
When wouldn't
Yeah,
that
we could-
be primary? Because it's always, in any purchase that's gonna be involved.
That's
involved
why
money.
we started off, and then the detail and subject matter is addressed by the various
Right.
committees.
Right.
I actually think that what happened at Pear Tree in our last report was exactly with what we're looking to. We'll talk about the financials. The detail was done by Park and Rec on the areas that we're not involved with, but Park and Rec was very much involved with and gave an excellent report on that.
Well, if we look at it from that standpoint, then it would probably be Public Works.
No,
No, or you think
no,
PZNH?
Public Work, no, with no disrespect. Public Works will have more to say when we get to the $10 fee than this. The lead committee right now is F&B,
Yeah,
all right?
With regard to the bonding and purchase resolution.
Yes.
And the purchase, yeah.
Yeah,
So if we would be having a public hearing, we're not doing it on a mandatory referral. We're not doing on what Public Works is going to be doing subsequently or the parking authority, because the parking authority already has scheduled their public hearing. Which
around the
is,
fees.
Around the fee.
well, it's more than just the fees. All right, it's the changes to the regulations. the changes to the regulations have that an attendant will be there, that they're allowed to subsequently be part of the app, which will be available in January. So there's about 10 changes in the regulations, which I've read, and actually made 1 or 2 suggestions to the regulations that are there. Thank you. So they're very specific on what that public hearing is, and it really is dealing with all the aspects other than the purchase. The only thing left would be the purchase. And there's opportunity to make comments at the Board of Finance.
Have all 3 committees met on this topic?
Nobody could, we just,
No, well,
So no committees have met for the public to get a better understanding from this body on this topic.
Correct.
Want to clarify?
right.
that's correct.
Okay.
And
Is this one of the?
Wait.
And I just wanted to say one thing, is that I've been told, to the extent we're discussing the contract, we have to go into executive session.
That's correct. Because it
Right.
is,
Yeah, so let it's not.
it's still a NDA type of situation.
So
Yeah.
I don't
It's still
know.
confidential.
So just to answer the question, to the extent that the public turns into PZ&H to get more information on this, it will be limited, since we will be in executive session for, I would expect, the majority of the discussion.
But any documents that were obviously public would be attached to your agenda for the public to.
The documents that I've been provided with, I've been told are confidential
Oh.
only for the members of the committee.
So the public has no information other than buying 37 West and the price.
At a price.
That,
The price wasn't even reported by the board.
No,
The price is available, because that was one of the executive
That
summary.
wasn't part of the board of select.
Right, yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
There is a methodology for distributing it's been done in the past. Confidential information.
Oh, yeah, no, discussion of real estate is absolutely an executive session topic. I'm just thinking for the public to opine on whether they feel like representatives should vote yay or nay on this, to what extent they have information.
They you can't have a public hearing on a contract that's in negotiation.
Yeah.
Simple,
They just have a price and a location.
yeah. And what it's being used for.
The only determined uses, as I understand it, is between now and the end of the year to keep it as a pay lot at the rates currently set, and therefore afterwards could be a pay lot as is, a parking garage, or a TOCD. Transit oriented development.
Or the computer lot.
Commuter lot, a garage,
No, this could be another lot.
or
Which is
transit
different
oriented,
than the way it is.
I'm sorry.
yes, or TOD.
The discussion at the Board of Selectmen, and although John said we can do this, and this,
So,
was not to be occurring in January. The intent is for this to be, and so misinformation being said even in this meeting is a problem, all right? The intent discussed at the Board of Selectmen is to at least possibly, because the December 31st isn't a drop dead date, is to use it as a $10 lot until such time that the parking authority reviews whether or not they want to continue it as a $10 lot or move it to a $5 or anything else. The other thing is that existing weekly or annual or 90-day things will be honored through December 31st. Those are the things that are discussed. It is not. It will then be used continue to be used as a parking lot. The discussion on what the prices will be may be discussed at a later date. Now, whether or not they actually get that done by the end of the calendar year, we will see. All right? But that's part of the reason why there's a new resolution, other than the one that was distributed on the fees, which I sent to you earlier today with the red lines.
Yes.
That I was waiting to see if it was accepted, bless you, by Wayne and Jen. And I have been told by Wayne that the red line is the resolution to be used. So I'll be sending that, I think I copied you on it as well, Sam.
Yeah,
That's the fee resolution.
That's the fee resolution.
all right.
That's going to a public hearing. Or there'll be a public hearing involved.
There'll be a public hearing on the $10, and I think part of it is what Lois actually mentioned. It is currently used by people who are not, have a parking pass or are day travelers, and that lot can be filled with that, and there's no place else for them to park, actually. I also distributed to both Ralph and Amy a map showing all of the parking lots that the town and state owns associated with the train station. I have a listing from Jen Chinesky of all the town and state-owned lots and the number of spaces that are there for each of those things. And that was been distributed as well as a financial analysis, which is rudimentary at best, and some other things that are there with some questions answered that will be part of my minutes because those are not confidential in its nature. And part of it was amended to the package of the Board of Selectmen met. And so they added and amended to it, and I had the amendment package sent out to my committee. Somewhat today, but I think some of it I actually had sent earlier.
And presumably some or all that information will be the two secondary committees.
They were, anything I sent to my committee, both of them were copied
Walk
on.
them through the process.
Yep.
It's an abridged timeline.
Right.
But the process is the process.
Yep.
All right, well, what we can do here, the issue of the public hearing, we can still assign the appropriation and bonding resolution to the committees. That doesn't hurt regardless. We've got F&B primary, TZ&H secondary, I guess, and Public Works secondary.
Yep.
Is that your motion, Jack?
Yep.
Okay, so Jack made that.
Okay, second.
Yep.
Okay, Mike. Further discussion? All those in favor, please. Okay, opposed? I see none, it's unanimous, carries.
So the second thing will only be used should the Board of Finance choose not to bond. So that's not on the agenda.
All right, so we're not gonna, we could assign committees.
There's nothing to assign. It's the exact same
Saying that
committees.
it's the same as the one above anyway.
Right, it's the
Okay.
same thing,
All right,
just different way to pay for it.
all right. That means we would have to have, well, we'll deal with that once we know what they're gonna do here. Approve rates and changes to town parking regulations.
So this is an interesting situation. And my loyalty to the scope document overshadows the work that was done. The responsibility for the parking authority, just to give a brief little bit of history. The state law requires the legislative body to approve any of the fees in the parking. However, the town of Darien wrote an ordinance that assigned the responsibility of fee determination to the parking authority, so the RTM doesn't have to discuss if we're moving rates from $4 to $5. However, on any new purchase, and this was in the executive summary that was just put together, on any new purchase, state requires the initial rate to be approved by the legislative body. All right, now that rate is set by I got that from town council. The parking authority is basically the Board of Finance, the Board of Selectmen, but they are a separate committee. The responsibility for following the parking authority lies with Public Works. F&B is only secondary on this. So whether or not we're setting the $10 fee, the primary committee on that is Public Works, with F&B being secondary. So,
There you go, Ralph.
and Ralph's already with that. And the fact, and the fact is
Yeah.
that there's some additions that we added to the resolution so that we weren't just assigning the $10 fee, but said subsequently, we're handing it back over to the parking authority, and so we don't have to see this again. So that's part of the resolution.
All right, so we have a motion to assign Public Works and F&B to the rates and changes.
Oh, need a second, right?
Motion? No.
That wasn't the motion.
Yeah, I made the
You
motion.
made your second, there we go. All right. Okay, further discussion, yeah, Lois.
So how do we have any say, or don't we have any say for what the Board of Selectmen decides to do with this property?
You do. You do.
We can, just by not approving the money.
Yeah,
No, I mean, that isn't what I mean. I think it's a good idea.
the purchase?
No, assuming the good idea, that the purchase is a good idea. In the back of my head is that lot is used very different. I don't want to go into details. It's used very differently than some of the other lots, and it's very important to certain people or a bulk of the town. But it doesn't mean that the Board of Selectmen have to honor that. So the RTM has no say in what happens after that. They set the $10 rate, and then we've now turned everything back over to the Board of Selectmen and the parking authority, and then we're done. So where does that leave us? I mean, does that leave us,
You have, there's a legislative branch and there's an executive branch. And the executive branch is responsible, they're elected to make the decision about where it's going. We can decide on money.
Yeah, but other than that, we have no.
you're talking about whether or not they're going to allow, convert it into emptying the wait list.
Absolutely.
And that's the point that's being raised. The decision, Seth is right, is that if they decide they're gonna build a new tower there, we control the money. All right, so that I'm not worried
Money,
about.
it's whatever.
But what the use is, my understanding from speaking to Jen Chinesky is that after the public hearing, the Board of, the parking authority will be voting to accept the change in the regulations and the $10 fee. What happens after that
That was my question.
is going to be in reality up to them. And so depending upon what the parking authority decides, but none of the models that I have seen, all right, moves annual passes in there, because that moves it to a $2 a day and definitely doesn't pay for it.
But you're right, Willis. They are the policymaking board for something like that.
Yeah.
In that regard, though, I don't, maybe I'm missing something. I don't see it much different than the acquisition of Short Lane, the acquisition of that house near home school. I mean, there was ideas as to what was going to be done with it, but as far as I can recall, your question would.
Let's see, that goes back to what Seth said. Usually when they make a decision, it costs money. And therefore we get a say in where the money goes.
Right.
In this case, they can make decisions that don't cost money.
Yeah, but if I'm correct.
But this is-
No, I understand what you're saying, it's important. If I'm correct, but those decisions all fall within the scope of it remaining some type of parking function. So that's, it's a little different than some of the other. I mean, I understand your concern, but I think it's going to stay a parking lot.
Yeah, the concern is that there's 292 spots there. And if they were to empty the wait list for the Darien train station, there's at least 150 people that park there that either didn't make the cut on the wait list, or day trippers, or other people that use that lot that have no blooming place to park in town. And that's the concern. But that was recognized when Lois spoke by Monica. And I know that I've reiterated it to Board of Selectmen and Parking Authority people as well. And I suspect it will be discussed at the public hearing, or at least I hope it is.
Okay, are we ready to vote on Public Works primary, F&B secondary?
So moved.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. I think somewhere we get, we get discussions. Okay, all those in favor, please? Okay, opposed, I see none. Okay, abstentions, none. This passes. Next is changes to chapter 14, section 61. This is harbors. We have two related harbor things. And so Adele, maybe you would like to.
I think it'll all look very familiar to you. We talked about this last spring. Frank taught us all about it. And so here it is. And the committees have met and we had a public hearing. Yes, we met.
Oh.
They met in June
Right.
and went through it very carefully. Before that, there was a public hearing on both of these pieces. One is a charter change, and which nobody's talked about. That's about the adding the constable. And then the rest of it is the revisions to the ordinances. And so they're detailed now. We've met on, discussed it at Park and Rec in September. And so it's been revised and revised and revised again. And so it's gone back to town council and now it's coming to everybody. And we will be ready in October. We will both of our PGSNA and Park and Rec will meet and vote in October for our final votes, and it will come to the RT.
Questions? I had Park and Rec as primary just because Adele committee picked up the ball on that one and carried it through in the absence of Frank. So I would just continue to have Adele's team be primary and TGSNA secondary. Is that okay for you?
Yeah, you could. Well, Frank made.
Frank did it all. Thank you very much.
Well, no, Frank, I saw in an email that he wanted Adele to be there in his absence. Now, I don't know if he knew what was gonna happen, but he became absent and that was his wish.
Well, that's what we'll do, but not done as well as would have been done if Frank was with us, I promise you. We will muddle through, and it is ready, and it has been looked at very carefully. And I'm sure not everybody agrees with every piece that's in there, and we may hear about that too, but we're ready to go.
You making that
Okay,
recommendation?
so it's your
That what I'm supposed
motion
to do, is
that
the
Park and
motion
Rec.
that
Would like to.
both of these move forward to the RTM.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Park and Rec and PGSNA.
Second.
Okay, can I have all those in favor of Park and Rec and TGSNA?
You have your second, right?
And then, and a second from you?
Yeah.
Okay, great.
That's for the
Changes to
The two
chapter,
of
yep, chapter 14 and chapter 78. Ordinance for the abatement of illicit sump pump discharge into public sewers.
boy.
When I looked, I saw three players in this one, and I didn't know who to put first, really. I had Public Works, and then Public Health and Safety, and then TGSNA. Anybody got any better idea on this one? Okay, I can have a motion, please.
So who's?
Public
Wait,
Works,
wait,
Public Health and Safety, is
Wait. Been filed.
Public Works is primary.
Public Works is primary.
So why is TGS, I'm sorry, why is public health and safety?
Yeah, boy.
That's-
Well, it's stuff going into the.
You are talking about sewage. Nobody's.
But it's clean water.
Going out to Stanford, right, that they're trying to stop.
It's not.
Yeah, okay.
Clean water going to Stanford.
Yes.
Yes.
I've discussed the issue of the discharge of the pumps with the health director. She's gonna get to
That's why public health and safety.
it because,
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah.
Yeah, but it's clean water. That's the whole point. It's not.
but you don't know.
No,
It's groundwater. It's groundwater, you don't know what's in the ground.
Sanitary sewer
Talking to a doctor.
Uh,
What was the third?
Public health and safety.
We'll do a short.
We have
Yeah, I don't-
Public Works, Public Health and Safety, and TGS&A. I have a second on that I didn't see a second.
Wait, so I'm sorry, who's primary?
Public Works,
And the other two are secondary.
right.
Make the motion.
Thank you, Mike, second. Thank you, Adele. Good, all in favor? Okay, opposed, see none? Passed unanimously. Amendment to the code to establish zoning citation regulations. I had TGS&A,
No,
no,
PZNH is private.
BZNH, all right.
Right.
The TDS name work on it, I thought town council did it with.
Town council did it, but because it's an ordinance, they have to at least look at it. But the subject matter expertise is with planning, zoning and housing.
Okay. And then TGS&A, all right. Any further discussion? Can I have a motion for that, please? Okay, thanks, Per. Second?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor? Okay, unanimous. Okay. Now, discuss and take action on what we put on the,
I'm gonna note it.
on the agenda. I gave you a draft, but, approval of purchase 37 West comes off, that number 5 there on that draft. Appropriation bonding for the 5,000,002, rates and changes, town parking, yeah, changes to the chapter. Adjust the ordinance for the abatement of illicit sump pump discharge, approve amendments to code to establish zoning citation regulations.
Can I ask a question? Is there any reason why Jeremy would have to come to this for the zoning citation? And if so, I wouldn't want to see it.
Well, then I could move it up.
I don't know
Yeah.
if he's coming or not. Do you think, Amy, do you have any?
He, Jeremy will be reporting to my committee. I'm happy to report, but, I certainly think if the RTM would prefer to have him present, I'm sure he would be happy to, but yes, I would say if we're going to have him present, that we should move that at the beginning of the agenda.
Just in case, I don't know if he'll come or not, but I.
I think.
Well,
He'll
be there.
He's back.
I see that just to be present.
That's an issue, be present.
Because I asked town officials, so if we wanted to get out and speak.
So if we're doing that also, just in case Ed decides to show up,
Yep, he'll be there, Pat.
Yeah.
then
I think they
we
should come
move those
earlier in the
first.
agenda.
Yes, I
That's my
agree.
only.
All right, so what's the story there, Seth?
So we've got approve amendment, we're moving that, I love this. We'll move 11 all the way up to, just after four there.
After 4, okay.
And then,
The sump pump.
the sump pump, we're doing after that, yeah, we'll make that ahead of, we'll make that 6 and then 7
And
after
the
that.
5.2 is 7,
Yep,
rates are 8. And then the 2 changes to the ordinance are 9 and 10.
yep,
That's the total nit point, but should what at least used to be 5, purchase of West Avenue. For consistency, should it, instead of being approval of, should it be approve? So that all of them are approved.
no, because it's not gonna be. We have to wait to see what the Board of Finance's vote's gonna be on how they're gonna do it.
Okay.
Because it doesn't even apply if they do bonding.
Well, yeah, no, it's the appropriation of bonding resolution for 5.2 million for the purchase of 37 West Avenue is in fact the resolution that we're dealing with. If the Board of Finance decides to pay from a different method, then we will change the resolution. It's a very short one. I'll read it and we'll have it capable of handing out. But that goes to something else. Krista, when do you send out the package to everyone? what date would you be doing?
Thursday before at the latest,
Okay, so we will know at that time whether,
no, after board finance.
you're right, because the Board of Finance is meeting on the 21st.
Yeah, plenty of.
So if we have to make a change, we can substitute.
Alright. That sounds good.
So.
Good, so that, does it.
Do we need a motion and?
Yeah, I need a motion, yeah, to set the agenda.
As summarized?
Let's do summarize. Peter, second,
Second.
okay, Per, all in favor? Opposed, none, abstentions, okay. All right, we've set the agenda for October 27th. We have, other business. I have to get a note out to, all the committee chairs and get a listing from them of stuff they see coming down the pike, but which have not arrived yet, but that are being considered so that we can identify them. And then, I'll add them to the agenda to track. Yes, Lois.
What about asking all the committees to do an annual report which shows the attendance at their meetings, so I'm gonna go to set the agenda,
Oh, yeah.
next year.
All right,
We
so
used to
I'll
run
do that too, yep. That's a standard thing we do every year. Yes,
Right, Krista?
You do it.
it will be.
No.
Get ready. All right, so we'll get on to tracking early arrivals or things on the way. Now, Joe, you had
Okay,
something.
several years ago, some of you might remember, people from Stanford that were working for the government came to tell us about their development in Stanford and how well it was going. And I can remember that at the same time that that was going on, we were getting notices from the water company. We couldn't wash our cars because of the water crisis. Now, fast forward to, we got over 200 units that are going in. And all that water is gonna go to Stanford for sewage treatment and whatever else is going on. I'd hate to see Weed Beach turned back into a sewage treatment plant. But Stanford can cut it off anytime they want. And I wonder who's watching to see how much more leeway we have with Stanford before we're gonna have to do something on our own, of course, doing the sewer treatment. I don't know who does that, or if it's even being done. As far as water usage, how much water can the water company supply us with? When's that gonna become a problem?
And is that a consideration, I guess, for the planning zoning commission? Is that part of their decision when they're looking at putting up 3-story large apartment buildings?
And they don't consider what the impact on the schools.
Well, that's,
Our
you know,
infrastructure is very
schools have reported, I think, in their enrollment projections, what they've added in for new building coming up. I think that
The
that's
schools
part
in their annual analysis on projections do anticipate the number of students that will be added in. And they did that years ago for the 3 main developments. I know there's another development going
Years ago,
on.
they were very wrong too.
They've gotten better.
Well, let's not go down that highway.
Weren't they sad?
Yes,
We-
I have the
we
scars to
saw.
prove it.
Yeah,
No, keep going.
but the fact matter is, you know, their estimates based upon numbers that they have there. And so, they can't be that far off because our school enrollment, based upon what I've seen, is actually going down.
So Seth, maybe at OPC, sorry, Jack.
But I think with what you're saying, and Amy can answer better on what the land use boards look at for capacity and other things like that for infrastructure. I know whenever I hear Ed talk, and Ralph can give a better discussion on this, Ed is looking at what we're getting on an annual basis and making sure that with volumes there, making sure that we're not sending in dirty water and getting charged for it. So, I mean, to what extent, you know, you guys talk about something along the
Well,
water.
we've talked with Ed about the I, which is their big,
Yeah.
their main focus right now. And we've already spent millions of dollars that's starting to show results. As you all may be aware, the recent rate that was set for the sewer fee was set for a 0% increase. It's no increase at all. And that hasn't happened in years. And that's only happening because they're starting to see some of the results of the repair work they've been doing with the consulting firm. But the other piece of the problem is the illicit sump pump connections, and that's what about the ordinance is all about that we're going to talk about on the 27th. Past that, I know that anytime there's a new application, like for example, the application for the 175 apartments that's going to go in behind Nielsen's. There was an extensive analysis of the sewer system and what its capacity was. And they finally concluded that it was enough capacity in the pipelines now to support that development. And they do that with every application. Okay, so the capacity is definitely looked at anytime any one of these new developments comes along. And that is taken into consideration for any other future plans that they have for the pumps, okay? They pump all of that over to Stanford. And we have a contract with Stanford, and that's for renewal periodically. I don't know when the next renewal date is, but that's something that Ed prepares for very diligently for negotiating. And what we're trying to do is, again, with this ordinance, to try and bring down the amount of inflow. If we now pay a minimum, regardless of whether we come to that minimum or below. And what we're trying to do is demonstrate to them that we can get it below the minimum, because at that point, then we can renegotiate with them as to how much we're going to pay to them. Because we can demonstrate that we're coming in less than what they're planning for their facility. And so that's all in the works right now. And I hope that somewhat answers your question.
Yeah, it's nice though that they're looking at it.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if they took that into consideration. I know they don't take the kids into consideration. They keep telling us every year, all these apartments, no kids are gonna be there. And kids show up, we get embarrassing situation, like happened at Avalon, when they wouldn't let the kids go to homeschool, they had to go to tokening school.
Well, I think I can say with a fair amount of confidence that since the property behind Nielsen's is all offices, and they're all
Right.
coming down, and it's all gonna be replaced with residential apartments, that somewhere in there, there's gonna be children, and that's gonna be all added population to the schools. How much? They did estimate that. It was part of the presentation at the application. Time will tell.
So getting to the heart of the matter.
I do want
though-
to add something else for those that didn't listen to the.
Just give me a second,
Okay.
before I get in about here. The heart of the matter is who has the go, no-go decision on the next building? Because it does things that exceed our capacity to process the sewage or whatever. And it seems to me, I'm not sure, I don't know whether that goes ultimately to planning and zoning, or where's the stop sign? Or where is the decision made? It's not 3 stories, it's 2, or it's, I think planning and zoning.
Well,
Conservation development.
I think it's
Okay,
better to
Jack.
just say the land use boards, because there's several of them and they have different responsibilities. So the land use boards do their job. And they have done their job, and that's who's responsible for saying yay or nay or whatever modifications they're suggesting.
But in the end, I think it's P and Z makes the final decision. I'm not sure. I'll
They
check
took all
with
the
you.
input, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Seth, what I was gonna say is maybe at your next OPC meeting, you can say to all the chairs that members of the RTM are definitely concerned. I mean, I know that they always go into a lot of financial information, but definitely concerned about the infrastructure of the town. And it would be assuring, it would be good if the planning and zoning chair could give a little assurance to exactly what you're saying. So then the whole RTM can hear. I mean, that's really where, if you initiate the conversation.
Yeah,
May I just say,
we've got OPC coming up next week.
you know, there was an overlay zone that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission in conjunction with the application for the development of, near the, woods behind Trader Joe's Park, okay?
Parklands.
And that overlay zone identified 40 acres of office locations throughout the town. And said that if someone wanted to come in, tear down the office buildings and put in residential housing, they could apply. And that's precisely what were the conditions under which Parkland was developed, and it's still yet to break ground. And also the 175 apartments that are gonna be built behind Nielsen's, okay? And that's only maybe a fifth, if that, of the 40 acres that's been determined to be under this overlay zone. So that's where things are happening, planning and zoning.
57 West has an overlay, don't they, as commercial? I understand,
Not right now. It's not an overlay.
or it's just zone commercial.
It's
Okay. Let me get into this with OPC and with planning and zoning. I'll get back to you in the next meeting about what I.
You might suggest to Steve in the state of the town, that be something that he discussed.
That's a great, it's coming up too. It's not by the way, but it's coming up.
I'll get in touch with it, yeah. Anything else under other business?
The only thing I did want to say, for those who did not listen to the Board of Selectmen meeting, Ed Gentile gave kudos to the RTM Public Works Committee for the input that they did in the letter that's going out to 5,400 residents who are attached to the sewer. And so just having that said publicly, I think, speaks volumes for what that committee does.
Let's hope people return the letter now, though.
Yeah,
The letter's going out to everybody.
that will be good.
No, they're hooked up to the sewer.
It's the sewer people.
They don't know if they're connected properly.
Okay,
Letter.
I will then take a motion to adjourn.
Well, move.
Second. All in favor?
Right. Yippee.